But
Nice.
but but how did you like get in touch with Dr. Linga? So you were doing your
Yeah,
PhD at CSIR, right? So
also
उधर
a good
से
story.
Dr. Linga के
Yeah,
साथ how
also
did
a
you
good
get in
story.
touch?
Also a good story. So Dr. Linga's association is with primarily with my professor from my PhD, Professor Rajneesh. So he, Professor Rajneesh and Professor Linga are very good friends from their PhD days. They did their PhD together. So
Okay.
gas hydrate kana, there is this that there are two main lineages
हाँ
in
हाँ.
in academic circles. एक आपका कोलोराडो स्कूल ऑफ माइंस से हुआ था, एक यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया से हुआ था कनाडा में.
Okay.
So
Okay.
these people are from the British Columbia lineage. So
Mm-hmm.
they did their PhD together under this gentleman called Professor Peter Englezos.
Okay.
They are extremely good friends. Extremely good friends. So मैं Professor Linga से मिला था at various conferences and stuff. So
Mm.
once I went for a conference in to Beijing, and वहाँ पे my professor was not there, but Professor Linga was there. So Linga is a very chill guy. वो बहुत he loves to have a good time. So basically, I mean, as you should basically. So
Hmm.
I always found that I have a very good camaraderie with him. He always treated me as an equal, not as a student. So I really appreciated that about him. So I interacted with him on quite a few occasions at different conferences. So
All were in India.
in India, in Beijing as well, other places.
So you had gone to Beijing for
Yeah,
his
when I went for the
conversation.
conference to Beijing,
Okay.
Professor Linga was also there. So we had a very good time
And
for,
this was during your PhD days.
yeah, during my PhD days. So
Okay.
I always established my relation with him. I really established my relation with him during my PhD, and I always maintained it very well. So this was back when LinkedIn was not the only way to go to for
Hmm.
connection, right? You have to you have to talk to
You have to
people on.
physically meet.
Yes, you have
Yeah.
to physically meet. You have to keep emailing people, right? Otherwise, now you can just drop a message on LinkedIn. It's fine,
Yeah.
but you have to keep emailing. You have to keep staying in touch. That's basically the idea. So I always stayed in touch with Professor Linga. Whenever I heard him speak, I was really impressed by the way he gives his talks, by the way he conducts himself. So I always wanted to work with him later on. So yeah, then he had an opening at his place. So then we talked about it, interviewed and everything. So
Ah, cool. So what was the first day working with him like? He was posted in NUS only, right?
yeah, he was in NUS. He joined NUS soon after his postdoc from Canada. He came to NUS, and Professor Kumar came to CSI National Chemical Laboratory,
Hmm.
from where he has now moved to IIT Madras.
Yeah, Dr. Rajneesh Kumar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Rajneesh. So yeah, so he was already in NUS. He was already well established in NUS when I came to the college,
Hmm.
to the university. So my first day was nice. Yeah, it was a normal day. I met Professor Linga. He showed me the lab, and then he was like, "All right, all yours."
Like how different is that lab at NUS? Is it really one of the coolest
Oh,
labs?
it is a really good lab. It is a really good lab. You know what really struck me when I went to the first time I set foot in that lab? The first thing that struck me was that I will not one experiment of mine will go wrong here, because in India our labs are not air conditioned,
Okay.
and I remember in NCL you, there would be a difference in the temperature of the lab of about 4 or 5 degrees between day and night. So if you do experiment during the day and if you do experiment in the night, then it's a different result. So sometimes that really
Bother.
mess up your repeat runs, and then you would have to do more experiments. So when I
Correct.
first came to NUS and I saw a lab that is maintained at 25 degrees, I was like, oh, okay, it's good, this is easy.
So
Nice.
is that the main reason? Like, I'm a little bit deviating here.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point you told about the infrastructure that you see in NUS and foreign university. So would you say that maybe that's the reason why Indian organizations are not at par with the international organization? Is infrastructure the only reason, or are there many factors to it?
No, okay. So that's a very good question, and there's a lot to unpack here. So in India, the thing that really bugs me is a lack of consistency. Okay,
Okay.
and that's not what you will see in in most universities outside India, well, there are not all universities outside India are good, but let's say an elite university like NUS or MITs or whatnot and whatnot. Um, so in India, let's take the example of NCL. At NCL, research was at a very high level. Okay, even though infrastructure was not as good as or as developed as what we have at NUS, there were still some amazing scientists at NCL, and there was still a lot of good research taking place and
Hmm.
in-depth research taking place, and people knew how to make the best use of the limited resources at their disposal. Okay,
Yeah.
but here's the issue. CSI and NCL is not a standalone lab. It is a lab that is part of a bigger ecosystem that is a CSI ecosystem, and
Hmm.
CSI has 37 labs around the country.
Yes, there is CDRI, there is,
Yeah, so many things, right? So
yeah.
many things. And I'll tell you, you will be amazed at the lack of consistency in between the labs. So not a single lab that I have seen in CSR up till now can come up to the level that I have seen of NCL. And of course, I have not seen all CSR labs, but
Hmm.
I can just make out the inconsistencies in the levels of operation, in the skill sets of the scientists that are employed in between this inside this ecosystem. ये तो
Mm-hmm.
बड़ी बात हो गई. ठीक है, there's an entire ecosystem of 37 labs that is inconsistent. There is one
Mm.
lab that at least in my experience is really good. There are other labs that are not as good, right? And even on in that there are levels of being good and being good at very various levels. IIT Madras is the most premier research institution in our country, or
Hmm.
the research is the most premier college in our country. In IIT Madras, it's not even an ecosystem of 37 labs. It's one university. Usme hi
Mm-hmm.
itne inconsistencies I have seen that you cannot really put your finger on it. So that's the
Okay,
issue.
when
Not
you're talking about inconsistency, can you like go into detail about what
yeah, yeah,
inconsistency you're talking about?
yeah, yeah. So let's say scientists are not on the same intellectual level as one another. Okay, somebody knows has a much better research acumen than the other. So there is really good output from one end, whereas the other end is just lagging behind.
Okay.
So let's say there are 50 scientists or 50 professors,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
उसमें से there are 10 who are really good and 40 who are lagging behind in their output. तो consistency नहीं है.
Hmm.
Whereas
Okay.
whereas let's say there is 50 researchers at NUS, and of course there is not going to be like a straight line consistency, but they're all there and thereabouts.
Yeah, like if you take the mean, it is almost going to
It's
be
there.
along that
It's
straight
there.
line. Yeah,
It's there.
got
So
it.
people are all vying for the same position
Okay.
Right.
But
for the same
tell me
mean.
one thing, like as a PhD student or as a student, so let's say I'm working, let's assume under Gaurav, okay, and I know that Gaurav is this really amazing guy. How am I getting affected by the inconsistency of professors who are,
You are not going to get affected personally. But that
okay,
is why Indian research and innovation is not picking up the way that it is in other countries. That's
okay,
what I'm trying to say. कि
okay.
आपके पास 37 labs तो है, आपके पास इतना अच्छा institute है with some really good researcher, but
Mm-hmm.
your resources are not being utilized to the
Utilized to
best
the
potential.
fullest.
वो it is not being utilized to the best potential. And जब तक ये inconsistencies नहीं जाएंगे ना, Indian research and development is not going to grow at the pace that we all want it to.
इसका
और
कारण क्या ये भी एक है कि like in India the maximum research is funded by, like unless you're talking about TIFR and certain specific labs of both IIT Madras as well as ISC Bangalore and to some extent IIT DNB. Uh, Primarily the chunk of funding, especially for CSIR and all, it comes from the government front, from the grant fund. Whereas I guess in NUS or in any other foreign country, it is more of like private companies
हाँ,
funding.
देखो there is a lot of competition in India as well. ये भी समझना पड़ेगा कि मतलब everybody is vying for the same sort of positions, and
Mm.
and academia में there is this thing that we say that is called publish or perish. ठीक है, you have to publish. आपको results दिखाने ही है, otherwise you are not going to be viable. जैसे ही ना क्या होता है कि एक hegemony sort of हो जाता है because all the grants are going to some people.
Yeah.
बाकी लोग कर नहीं पा रहे. You're not receiving the same sort of funding or support that you need to, and that's something to do with the researcher as well. Matlab, you have to be active, you have to get your own grants. There's no two ways about it. But grant का distribution is definitely not even. कहीं कहीं जा रहा है, कहीं कहीं से पैसा आ रहा है, is going to some other some one particular place, वहां से पैसे, वहां से output आ रहा है, but not everybody is getting the output. Or if you, and it is very very difficult for professors also to get these grants. So अगर आपके पास पैसा नहीं है, if you don't have the grant, you don't have the equipment. If you don't have equipment, you don't have output. ठीक है, बस. And then after a while people just become comfortable, right? ठीक है, I'm there, I what do I need to do anymore? So people become comfortable, and then it's the same old story.
Okay.
So
But-
that is the issue. But whereas NUS may, at least you have so many industry sponsored projects, you have, there's a lot more attention on research and innovation as a country. ठीक है, मतलब government regulations are to prioritize research and development. If you're going to prioritize research and development, you're going to get a lot of funding from different sources. All the companies are going to try and put a part of the budget to support R&D. जब वो होगा, then you will have more money. If you have more funds, then you are going to have more people. If you have more people, you're going to have more output. ठीक है?
Great.
That's
Great.
just the way.
Even your research is like a good chunk is funded by private agencies.
My research, this SNG one was actually funded by government.
Okay.
But we have a number of projects in our group that are funded by private agencies.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But ये फर्क पड़ता है ना कि अगर प्राइवेट एजेंसी आके पैसा लगाया तो उसका मतलब उसका आउटपुट क्या कुछ अलग होता है इन अ कंट्री लाइक सिंगापुर आल्सो मैं बात कर रहा हूँ वेयर द गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड्स लाइक द गवर्नमेंट रियली स्पेंड्स अ लॉट ऑफ मनी इनटू रिसर्च क्या उसमें भी ये फर्क पड़ता है या फिर इट इज लाइक कहीं से भी आए बस आए
यार नहीं देखो अगर अगर ये भी हो जाएगा कि विच पर्सपेक्टिव आर यू लुकिंग एट इट फ्रॉम. ठीक है, सिंगापुर में ये नहीं होता है कि बस आ जाए. नो, दैट डज नॉट हैपन. पीपल रियली डू वांट टू मेक टू डू गुड रिसर्च. ठीक है, पीपल रियली वांट टू स्टैंड आउट. पीपल रियली वांट टू, व्हिच इज व्हाई यू विल सी कि सिंगापुर से बहुत रियलिस्टिक रिसर्च होता है. यू सी अ लॉट मोर स्टार्टअप्स कमिंग आउट ऑफ द रिसर्च. रिसर्च फ्रॉम
स्पेशली एनयूएस का जो इंक्यूबेशन जो सेंटर है,
you see at least, I mean, let's say five spin-offs every year.
Yep.
Yeah, people are doing their work. They are creating viable solutions that they can spin off into startups. So be it through private research, be it through government-funded research, people are making viable solutions. तो ऐसा तो है ही नहीं कि let me just get the money और फिर मैं कुछ भी कर दिया, everybody is happy. नहीं, ऐसा even the private companies are not just showing.
कुछ भी कर दिया का वो नहीं कह रहा हूँ. मतलब the point is कि एक प्राइवेट कंपनी का आ जाना, like does that affect even if the government funding exists अच्छे तरीके से?
एक प्राइवेट कंपनी का, can you repeat that?
एक प्राइवेट कंपनी का getting on board a private company who is funding your research, irrespective of the government grants being present and your government providing you enough money, does that make a difference?
It of course does. It does because it boosts the profile of the researcher. It tells other companies that this researcher is actually trusted by private companies.
Yeah.
So it boosts the profile of the researcher. It helps the students make connections with the industry people. And then and if the industry is going to see potential in the student, you might be onboarded into the industry. If the industry sees potential in the technology, they might want you to lead the development of the product. So definitely industry player or private player coming on board makes a big difference.
I see.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, again, it depends on the sort of contract that you have. Sometimes industries have contracts wherein you only work for the industry and all of the IP is the industry's IP. There are contracts where you decide with the industry, okay, if we have some good results, we'll do a joint venture together. So it depends on the structure of the contract as well, what the industry is willing to do.
Hi, this is Tanir. We hope that you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Please do feel free to let us know your thoughts, your ideas on the same in the comment section. If you enjoyed our video, please do like and share it as much as possible. And of course, please do subscribe to Orgasm. Thank you.